Hey, Shalom, Hashem, what's up? This was about giving no praise to Yahweh, Hashem, Yahushua, Hashem, Rakakadash. That belongs to the apostle GMS, from honesty, brothers doing the work and truth, war, sincerity. Just meditating on, how the Lord gives and the Lord takes away. And, thought, why not just do a video on it? Got a couple scriptures open and just see really where the Spirit goes with it. Right, so this is Job 1, I'm starting from verse 13 to get a bit of context. We've got, points in 21, so I'll just read this bit quick. Right, it says, and there was a day when his sons and his daughters were eating and drinking wine in their eldest brother's house. And there came a messenger unto Job and said, the oxen were plowing and the asses feeding beside them. And the Sabians fell upon them and took them away. Yea, they have slain the servants with the edge of the sword, and only I am escaped alone to tell thee. Right? So basically he's bringing some bad news. But literally, as he's bringing that bad news, right, it says, while he was yet speaking, there came also another and said, the fire of the Most High has fallen from heaven and hath burned up the sheep and the servants and consumed them, and I only am escaped to learn to tell thee. While he was yet speaking, there came also another and said, the Chaldeans made out 3 bands and fell upon the camels and have carried them away, yea, and slain the servants with the edge of the sword, and I only am escaped alone to tell thee. And while he was yet speaking, there came also another, thy sons, and said, thy sons and thy daughters were eating and drinking wine in their eldest brother's house. And behold, there came a great wind from the wilderness, and smote the 4 corners of their house, and it fell upon the young men, and they are dead, and I only am escaped alone to tell thee. And I said, then Job arose and rent his mantle and shaved his head, and fell down upon the ground and worshipped. So you see that there, what you're witnessing there is basically what you can infer, deduce from that is Job had wealth. Right? Job had wealth. So he had, you go through this, which says, eating and drinking wine in their brother's house. So he had oxen, right, and asses. So that means he had land, right? And he had servants to deal with those oxen and asses, and he also had sheep and servants to deal with those sheep. Right, so those servants would have needed places to stay. Right, they would have needed wages, they would have needed food, which means he would have had all of that. Right, and then he also had camels. Right, and slain the servants. He said it came out in 3 bands, so that means he needed a lot of camels or a lot of servants. Right, so basically Job had Job had wealth, right? And then but it goes on to say that he lost all of that, right? And then Job makes the point in verse 21, says, and said, naked came I out of my mother's womb, and naked shall I return thither. The Lord gave, and the Lord hath taken away. Blessed be the name of Yahweh. Right? So the Lord has the power to give, has the power to take you away. And in fact, if I read 1 Samuel 2:7, it says, Yahweh maketh poor and maketh rich. He bringeth low and lifteth up. Right? He raiseth up the poor out of the dust and lifteth up the beggar from the dunghill to set them among princes. Right? And that's the process. That's getting ready to happen to us. Right, because right now we're the poor, we're in all intents and purposes in the eyes of the world, pieces of shit. Right, but the Lord is going to raise us up and set us up in set us up basically we're going to be kings and priests to the Lord. Right, join heirs with Yahweh Shai. Right, so this is Romans 8 and 17 is what I want. It says, they said, the Spirit itself beareth witness with our spirit, verse 16, that we are the children of the Most High. Right, it says, and if children, then heirs of the Most High, and joint heirs with Yahweh Shai, if so be that we suffer with him, that we may also be glorified together. Right? So right now we're in that lower state. Our position as rulers of the world has been taken away from us. But the Lord is gonna, when he comes back, when the nation of Israel gets reestablished, he's gonna put Israel back in their rightful position, right? You also get 2 Ezra 2, And 46. 46? 46? I'm start converting. For 43 says, and in the midst of them there was a young man of a high stature, right, referencing Yahushua, taller than all the rest, and upon every one of their heads he set crowns, right, and was more exalted, which I marveled at greatly, right. So we go back here, right, it says he raised up the poor out of the dust and lifted up the beggar from the dunghill to set them among princes, right. That's, that's what's going to happen to us, right. It says, and to make them inherit the throne of glory, for the pillars of the earth are Yahweh's, and he had set the world upon them, right. But the point there is, the Lord maketh poor and maketh rich, and you can be, make you spiritually poor, make you spiritually rich, carnally poor, carnally rich. The Lord, at the end of the day, he's the Most High. He can do whatever, he can do what he wants, right? This is Sirach too, because obviously in this truth and this thing of ours, right? Things are gonna get given to you, and things are gonna get taken away, right? And some things ain't gonna be given to you, period, right? Because at the end of the day, Lord knows what's most expedient for you. Brothers will, tell stories about how maybe when they first came in the truth, they couldn't get jobs, but in that period of time, they were just getting deep into the scriptures, right? So it was needful at that time that, that brother wasn't working, so he can just study the scriptures, and over a course of time, the law basically said, hey, now you can have a job, sustain yourself, or whatever, what have you, right? Because then everything is to the Lord's program, right? Because brothers be like, yo, man, look, I was applying for jobs, and the only one that replied was the one that was paying the most. Brothers will tell those kind of stories, man, right? But then brothers will be like, man, I applied for 100 jobs and no one got back to me, and it will be a literal 100 job as well, right? But yeah, let me continue. Right, it says, Sirach 2 says, my son, if thou come to serve the Lord, prepare thy soul for temptation. Set thy heart aright and constantly endure, and make not haste in the time of trouble. Because all the things that we go through now, especially, they ain't, nothing's really happened yet. Everything's still calm. It's all, like I said, nothing's really happened. The time of Jacob's trouble hasn't, even really truly began yet. That's when they start implementing that chip, and it's a legit, you're gonna stand firm for the name of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, which is also what it's in fact, let me get it in here, right? It says verse 46. It says, then 2 Ezra 2:46 says, then said I to the angel, what young person is it that crowneth them and giveth them palms in their hands? So he answered and said unto me, it is the Son of the Most High, whom they have confessed in the world. Then began I greatly to commend them that stood so stiffly for the name of Yahweh, right? So the guys, the men of the Lord that make it are the ones that will stand firmly for the Lord, right? Though, for the name of the Lord, what he represents, right? This truth. But those are the ones that the Lord's going to be, putting crowns on their heads for, right? Let me carry on. All right, so it says, cleave unto him and depart. Well, oh yeah, no, there's an important point, and constantly endure. Right, so we'll be going through certain things. Like I said, like the point of this is, Lord giveth and taketh away. Lord might, take away your job, might take away your place to stay. Right, and your thing is to endure that, right? And just not to run away from any of the hardships that you go through, right? The Lord has the power to do that, and he can do that, to test your integrity, but at the same time to build you up, because the Lord is balanced. All the hardships you go through, there will be a counterbalance that is there to build you up in one way or another, spiritually, carnally, whatever it is, right? It says, cleave unto him and depart not away, that thou mayest be increased at thy last end. says, whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully, and be patient when thou art changed to a low estate. Right? So when, if the Lord was to take away, deal cheerfully, because here's one thing, whenever we get what we want from the Lord, we always, hey, God, broke down, ha 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 ha, right? But we never, when we get chastened and all of that, we don't thank the Lord, because, like I said, there's balance. The Lord is balanced. There's always a good thing that comes from the chastening, or from whatever it is that you're going through, right? It says, it says, take it cheerfully, man. Because you got to understand that the Lord has His program, and you're just going through, and whatever it is you're going through is for your own benefit, right? It goes on to say in verse 5, for gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity, right? The whole chapter is good. You can read the whole chapter. All right, but this is Sirach 11:21. It says, marvel not at the works of sinners, but trust in the Lord, and abide in thy labor. For it is an easy thing in the sight of the Lord on the sudden to make a poor man rich, right? So the Lord can, take you from a lower state and put you on a higher state just like that. He can do the opposite too. The Lord gives and the Lord takes away, right? Shall we receive good from the Most High only, and not evil? And I believe that's Job, the 2nd chapter. Just in case I want to reference back in Job. Right, it says, Job 2:9 says, then said his wife unto him, dost thou still retain thine integrity? Curse the Most High and die. But he said unto her, thou speakest as one of the foolish women speaketh. What? Shall we receive good at the hand of the Most High, and shall we not receive evil? In all this did not Job sin with his lips, right? So Job is saying, look, man, you get good and you get bad, but that's just what you got to deal with. That's just a part of this thing, because the Lord is balanced, right? So where were we? Yeah, but like I said, because the riches, ultimately, especially on this side, those riches that we should be caring about is those spiritual riches. The gift of faith, right? It's always a good thing to give thanks to the Lord that we have this truth, because the majority of the people, we'll see at the camp all the time, they don't have this truth, and the majority of them don't want this truth. They don't want it, right? Because it means that they have to stop living the way that they're living. It means that they have to, hey, alright, so let me get it. It's Ephesians 2:8. So, for by grace are ye saved through faith, and that not of yourselves, it is the gift of the Most High, right? So the spiritual riches that we want, man, number one is that faith, right? Because without faith, it is impossible to please Him. Hebrews 11:6, right? It says, Hebrews 11:6, but without faith, it is impossible to please Him. For he that cometh to the Most High must believe that He is, and that He is a rewarder of them that diligently seek Him, right? So when you put these two scriptures together, you realize that actually only the Lord has only ever wanted a few people to be saved, right? Because it says you can't please Him without faith, right? But then He's the one that gives you faith. So that means it goes into the predestination, right? That that you have people predestined for the foundation of the earth, for salvation, right? So it's Ephesians 1:4 and 5. It says, according as He hath chosen us in Him before the foundation of the world, that we should be holy and without blame before Him in love, having predestinated us unto the adoption of the children by Yahushua Mashiach to Himself, according to the good pleasure of His will, right? So I said that's the faith is the number one spiritual gift that we want, right? That spiritual riches, and as I was saying, the Lord giveth and taketh away. That's why you got to pray that the Lord doesn't take the Spirit away from you. As King David prayed in this Psalms, right? So Psalms 51:11 says, cast me not away from thy presence, and take not thy Holy Spirit from me. Right? And you've got countless examples of where the Lord's done that to certain guys. They've just, you need to just zap that spirit from them. You don't want to be that guy, man. Right? And it also comes with humility as well, because, hey, look at what Paul said, right? It says 1 Corinthians 9:27. It says, but I keep under my body and bring it into subjection, lest that by any means, when I've preached to others, I myself should be a castaway. Right? So Paul's there saying, look, I've done all this work, but look, if the Lord ain't with it, Lord might get rid of me. And that's the spirit you should have, because as soon as you think, yeah, man, I made it, man, I'm gonna be on that chariot, man. That's the moment when you start opening yourself up to all kinds of demons. Right? Obviously, we have hope and we have faith. Otherwise, otherwise, why are we doing this? If you don't have hope in salvation, why are you doing this? Well, obviously we hope in salvation, but we know that our salvation isn't a sure thing until we're on that chariot. Right? But Lord's will, with that you are edified. And until the next one, say Shalom.